In our last video, we visited Flaming Gorge and Sheep Creek Canyon before visiting Fort Bridger and following the California and Mormon trails into Salt Lake City. In this video, we'll be traveling through the Great Basin of Utah and Nevada into Great Basin National Park. We're Richard and Mary. Since retiring in 2004, we've been exploring the U.S. and abroad by car, RV, train, and cruise ship.
Come along with us as we enjoy beautiful scenery and visit interesting and historic places.
Please subscribe and welcome to the adventures of the retired roamers. Leaving Salt Lake City, we traveled along the edge of the Great Salt Lake into the Salt Desert.
I'm driving. Notice I am driving along the desert. This is a 90-mile road. Our speed limit is 80 miles an hour, which I'm able to maintain, even though it's somewhat terrifying. What really surprised me is the cars are passing me. Probably the most boring place I've ever driven. There is nothing anywhere. We've had one rest area and one service station in the whole 90 miles. Anyway, it's going to get us where we want to go, and the road is flat and no more up and down mountains. So that part is good. No rain, that part is good. And we're on our way.
Well, Mary finally got us across the Great Salt Desert in one piece.
Yeah. And I did pass other cars going 80 miles an hour, so I think that was quite an achievement.
It is. Actually, she's done a great job.
And then when I saw the billboards talking about drowsy drivers pull off, I thought, wow, this is pretty scary.
This is the Bonneville Salt Flats, famous for the land speed records they run across the salt.
If you see anything in the background that looks like a boat, it's not. It's a car.
Yeah, there are cars out there. You can actually drive out. We decided not to do it because I really don't want salt all underneath my car.
And it's pretty amazing, and it looks so much like ice that it's deceiving because you think it's going to be very cold, and of course it's not. It's salt, so it's not cold.
About 30,000 years ago, most of western Utah was covered by Lake Bonneville. 18,000 years ago, the lake overflowed and drained rapidly to the north. That left the Great Salt Lake and these large salt flats.
There he is, the guy who puts salt on watermelon and apples and anything else you can think of. Sort of like paradise.
As we cross the state line into Nevada, guess what we find? Casinos! We also find Wendover Will, welcoming people to West Wendover. Across the street is the route of the Victory Highway, which was completed in 1925. This transcontinental road connected New York City to San Francisco. Eagle markers were placed along the highway and plaques dedicated to those who served the country in World War I. Saying goodbye to Wendover Will, we head south into the Great Basin in Nevada. The Great Basin is a watershed that has no outlets. All precipitation evaporates, sinks underground, or flows into saline lakes like the Great Salt Lake.
As we enter Great Basin National Park, the snow-capped Wheeler Peak can be seen in the distance.
Arriving at the park, we drove up the Wheeler Peak Scenic Drive, rising 4,000 feet in elevation. Notice there are no guardrails. That's so they can remove the snow. Climbing the mountain, the vegetation changes from sagebrush and pinyon pine to fir, spruce, ponderosa pine, and aspen. Congress created Great Basin National Park in 1986. It contains desert with its sagebrush and the South Snake Range, which includes the 13,000-foot Wheeler Peak and the most southern glacier. The park received an unusually heavy snowfall this year. Some trails and campgrounds were still closed, but fortunately, this portion of the road was open 2 weeks before we visited in mid-June.
Well, we've been seeing mountains with snow since we were in Denver, but this time we actually got up to the mountain and actually saw the snow on the ground, and it was pretty amazing.
We started out at the bottom and it was 76 degrees, and now we're up at 10,000 feet and it's 58.
Yeah.
A little chilly.
Fortunately, it's sunny and it's beautiful, and we're just loving it. On our way back down the mountain, we stopped at this overlook, and we were rewarded with a panoramic view of the vast desert. It seemed like we could see forever. That evening, at dusk, we gathered with a large group of other visitors at an amphitheater in the woods for an astronomy program led by the park rangers. They also had telescopes set up so we could see specific objects not visible to the naked eye. They explained that the park has been designated as an International Dark Sky Park, one of the darkest places in the United States. That makes this the ideal spot to view the night sky. We were able to see planets, a satellite, thousands of stars, and even the Milky Way.
Leaving Great Basin National Park, the next morning we headed east on US 50 toward Utah. This is known as the loneliest road in the country. Join us next time as we visit Capitol Reef National Park, and Mary gets to try out her hiking pole.